Hi everyone, welcome back to Gloucester Golf Centre, myself, Lovery. So I'm in the downstairs AT Performance Studio and I'm with the brand new Callaway Rogue Driver. Now this thing looks absolutely insane. It's completely different, I feel, from especially on the shelf looks when you look at it this way compared to anything else on the market. The fact it's got these sort of gill type bits on the side just makes this thing really stand out, and I'm starting to really like the blue finish as well. So a couple of things then that makes this driver so substantial to the golf market as such. What we have then is jailbreak technology again, supposedly improved from what we had in the Epic. So really interested to actually see how that performs, because certainly the ball speeds you get out of the Epic were insane. So the idea in this one is supposed to have a higher MOI as well than what the Epic did. So it's supposed to be a little bit easier to hit overall across the face. What you'll notice is on these we don't now have the movable weights. So I've got the Sub-Zero in hand now. They do the Sub-Zero, you've got the standard driver, and you've also then got the draw driver. So that's the new introduction as well into Rogue. So it'll be really interesting, I think, especially in months to come, to see how this sits alongside Epic. Certainly with it being at the same price point, it'll be very interesting to see how that kind of works for Callaway. But genuinely, when I first picked this up, I didn't really like the look of it. I sat it down and I didn't like the look of it. Looking at it now, I'm starting to really like it. There's certain bits now that are really starting to stand out to me. One of the first bits that I noticed looking along the top had these two sort of like fins on the top, and I was thinking, what is that? Well, it turns out there's actual speed slots, so they're supposed to reduce the drag as such, the driver, and make it travel faster. Really interesting to see actually if that works at all today and what that does. So what I'm going to do in today's video especially, I'm going to actually test the Rogue in its Sub-Zero versus its standard settings. They're going to be in a 10.5. I've got the hazardous yellow shaft in it in a 6.0, 76 grams. I'm just going to do a comparison just to see which one feels better and which one gives the better numbers for myself. I have got the Sub-Zero set to the lower spin setting, so the weight is forwards. You can change them over, which is a really nice feature as well in this one. But yeah, I think it's a really cool looking driver. I love the fact it's got this sort of half carbon kind of crown again going on the top, very similar kind of shape to the Epic, but it gives a much bigger kind of base footprint, even though they're both still 460cc. So it'll be really interesting to see how they get on and see what data we get. But I'm excited to hit this a while, so let's not waste any time. Let's hit a few shots. We'll just take just a few moments just to actually look at the head of the standard Rogue. So that's this one here. So you can see the jailbreak technology here. Got the weight as far back as they can here. Now that's been accomplished by what they've done with this carbon composite here at the top. They've been able to take the weight from here and stick it lower down and further back to make it much more stable through impact and make it act like a much larger club head or mass object as such than what it is. You'll see what I mean about those sort of gill kind of fin things on the bottom. They look absolutely awesome. It's a really angry looking driver overall. Really like the face, looks ever so slightly shallower than what the Epic does. Be interesting when I get them side by side to actually get a real good understanding of that. And you can see the little speed bits here at the top just on there. So that's actually going to reduce the drag of the driver apparently slightly and help with the distance. Love the fact they've kept with this sort of classic Callaway logo there at the top. You see Rogue, but the actual driver itself is just, I just think it looks awesome. It looks expensive as well, which I mean it is, but it looks expensive. Which I mean you can't really get much higher praise, and then you can see the sort of blue finish there with the sort of shiny bit around the Callaway, so that looks cool. No, it really is growing on me in that blue actually. It was something to begin with I didn't think looked that great, but looks cool. Let's give it a go. So for the first few shots then, I'm going to try the Sub-Zero. I'm going to jump straight into the lowest, supposedly the lowest spinning driver. So first impressions then, actually looking at the head, it looks bigger than the Epic. Certainly when you put it behind the ball, it looks a little bit bigger. There's less kind of going on as well, I think, on the top, which is quite nice. So let's actually give this a whack then. So this is the Sub-Zero, so I'm expecting to see the spin numbers here being quite low. A little bit to the left, pretty good sort of spin number though. Let's hit a couple more. So it's my first sort of real interaction with this driver. Sounded pretty cool. Better hit. Again, felt really nice. Okay, so I'm now going to hit a few shots then with the standard Rogue, as you can see there. So, first impressions, head looks a little bit larger. Looks like it's a little bit more set back. For some reason it looks shallower. Could just be me, but it looks slightly shallower. Let's give it a try. So, certainly liked the Sub-Zero. Okay, exactly the same shot with the Sub-Zero on the first one. It'll be interesting to see now what to follow up with. That's a better one. Much better shot. Cool, well, I'm going to hit a few more with this one. Certainly sounds wise, very, very similar. I think it'd be very, very hard pushed, I think, to be able to see at the moment much difference between the two. It's going to be really interesting in a moment when I start to display some data on the screen once I've hit sort of another 5 or so shots with this to then see what we actually get between the two. So I'm going to hit a few more of these and then we'll have a look at some data.
So the results then kind of surprised me when it came to the distances and things that I'm getting with these. Now, one of the first things that really surprised me is the fact the standard one spun less than what the Sub-Zero did in its low spin setting. It could be me, you know, hitting perhaps one shot that span up a little bit in the Sub-Zero. There's nothing I really noticed in the data. I had a little sift through at the end just to make sure there's nothing in there that's really going to throw the results. And was very surprised to actually see that. In fairness, I know that I didn't have the shaft fitted. That can make a big difference. You know, it's just a hazardous that I've pulled off. Did feel very, very heavy. I've noticed my club head speed's dramatically down in this one. I'm sort of swinging it at 112 at the moment with my TaylorMade M2, so it's quite interesting to see that. Certainly in terms of distance then, this Sub-Zero has gone further. It's carried further. It's getting a little bit more loft. You can see 11.8 degrees of launch rather than 10.9. Again, kind of the opposite as to what I was hoping to see. Ball speed though is up in the Sub-Zero. I think that's why I'm just seeing that little bit extra. You can see that the smash factor's up ever so slightly, just getting a little bit more out of the club. But certainly impressed with Callaway's new product. I mean, it's going to be interesting, I think, to see how this sort of behaves being paired with the Epic as such. It'd be really intriguing to see how they manage to get on with both drivers being priced, you know, around that sort of £400 mark and how they compete. But in terms of actual performance there between the two, very, very similar. I mean, with 3 yards and 2 yards in it overall, it's going to be the difference from one shot to another. So I think it'd be interesting actually, once I get this club a little bit more dialed in, I start to understand what shaft works for me and what doesn't. I'm going to do a lot more comparisons then with these clubs. As I say, this is just sort of an initial first hit. And it'd be really interesting to see whether actually, you know, I could even use the new Product X Even Flow. I could go down loads of different driver routes, but then I'm going to start comparing it between M3, M4. I'm going to compare it to my M2. Do I need to upgrade my driver? Can I get more distance out of the others? And that sort of thing. But certainly in terms of dispersion as well, very, very similar in terms of overall dispersion. Just be interesting now to start to compare that club, to compare that data to other drivers I've hit.
So thank you very much for watching my Callaway Rogue review. I've got plenty more reviews coming up soon. As I say, I'm going to do lots of comparison videos with these. I'm going to be comparing it to M3, M4, comparing it to my M2 versus M3 and M4. Can I get any more distance? What am I going to be looking for in my next driver? And at the moment, I don't even know what I'm going to be looking for in my next driver. I'd love a bit more distance. I'd love a bit more control of spin than what I've got in mind at the minute. Is something like this going to do it in the Sub-Zero? Who knows, especially not once I get the shaft dialed in. So thank you very much for watching. Please make sure you do check out our websites. There's Gloucester Superstore, and then you've also got AT Golf Coaching as well. Make sure you check those out. Thanks so much for watching. See you soon.